I would apply for these jobs and the next day they'd be sending me decline letters. Like, damn, did y'all even look at my resume? Hey, what's up everybody? It's the plug, the coolest nerd on the planet. Some people call me Dash, but my government is Amia Goldman. I'm 25 years old from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and today I just want to plug you guys in on how I'm 25 years old making six figures as a software engineer. Let's get into it. So pretty much for my job, what I do is I talk to all our different businesses and I gather their requirements for a project. So knowing what their wants or needs are so we can deliver the best possible solution and design the best interface possible for them. I also work in Tableau and Power BI, which we build dashboards for our different businesses so they can track their key performance indicators and make decisions based off of these different dashboards. And lastly, I work in SharePoint, which is a software we use just to build our internal websites using HTML and CSS and a little bit of JavaScript too. But that's pretty much what I do day in, day out for work, and just using these different capabilities and different projects that are just coming along on my table week by week. So how did I get here? So honestly speaking, like growing up, I wasn't one of those kids on the computers at 5, 10 years old coding. I honestly just grew up playing basketball and hanging out with my friends. So by the time it was time to go to college, I just knew I wanted to make money and be out here balling on them. So I told my mom I was going to be an anesthesiologist, and she's like, you know, Amia, that's a horrible idea. You hate science, you failed when you was in high school, whatever. But she suggested computer science to me. And at the time, you know, I didn't know too much about what computer science was, but I looked up, you know, how much money they make, and I was like, I want to make that amount of money, so I'm gonna go to school for this. And at this point in time in my life, the only real technology experience I had was MySpace, and I didn't even know that at the time. So I ended up going to Lincoln University, the first HBCU. Shout out to everybody at Lincoln. I had a ball there, best time of my life, and I ended up studying computer science. And the thing was, Lincoln's computer science department was tailored to that kid who's been coding their whole life. It wasn't tailored to somebody new like me who's never heard anything about anything that goes with computer science. So my first day of class, my professor just hands me a piece of paper and he's like, copy this. He never explains what's a variable, he never explains what's a function, he never explains what's a class, and he never explains to us that this isn't your regular major where you really have to apply yourself outside of the classroom. I didn't have an internship, you know, that someone who would have went to a school like Penn State or Temple University would have had, because these high-end companies aren't looking at small little Lincoln University and giving us the same type of opportunities or resources. So boom, it's time for me to graduate, and I just kind of need to figure out like what's next for me. So I have two things in mind. One, you know, I start applying to grad schools because Lincoln allows you to go to graduate school for free. So I applied to Penn State University and decided to study software engineering. And two, I started looking for jobs. And of course, because I'm a computer science major, I looked for technical, you know, type of jobs. But I would apply for these jobs and the next day they'd be sending me decline letters. Like, damn, did y'all even look at my resume? So once I keep getting these like decline letters stacked up, I finally decide like, hey, I need to figure something else out, and I apply to be a computer teacher at a school that basically allows you to, you know, come in and get your credits recovered if you messed up the first time. So I'm doing this and I'm going to school back and forth for about 8 months, and that's kind of when like shit just hits the fan. Okay, that was hard. But yeah, that's kind of when like shit just hits the fan. And I get fired and I fail a class in the same month. So when I failed my class, my school reaches out to me and they're basically like, listen, we don't know what you did, but you can't code. I realize that I can't code. And they're basically like, if you want to continue in this program, then you have to go back to the beginnings and go back to like a remedial class to learn the basics to keep going. So I decided to take the remedial class because that's the only option that I had at that point. And honestly, that was like the best decision I ever made, because it's like a light bulb went off in my head, and I finally got the information that I should have got back at Lincoln. Like the way that the professor explained the syntax of computer science and the language that we were learning, which was Java at the time, just made so much sense to me. So I was then able to go back into the class I felt and pass it very easily. So at this point, I'm doing good in my programming stuff. I finally understand the concept, but I need to figure out what I'm going to do to get a job again, because my unemployment is running out at this point. I'm on unemployment because, like I said, I got fired from my job, and I'm waking up every day and driving Uber. So boom, after applying to about 150 million companies and getting denied, I finally got a call from a company called Intech. And they said they wanted to interview me. And basically, Intech is a software development company that has a program within their company called Grad. And basically, they allow recent college graduates the opportunity to get an entry-level job into a Fortune 500 company, while teaching you all the new technology you need to know to get into that company. So boom, I go in here and I have my interview, and I never had an IT interview before, so I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know how this is going to go. So I just kind of prepared myself by taking all the documents I made in college and just took them to the interview with me. And pretty much he didn't care about none of the stuff I had to present to them. They just asked me a couple questions that they had. And sometimes I honestly didn't know the answers to their questions, and I would honestly just tell them that. And they appreciated me being honest with them, because I would just say, you know, oh, I don't know how to answer that question, but in order to solve this, I would go on Google and search X, Y, and Z. And just being able to be a problem solver and have a route that you would take, they liked that about me. So about an hour after I did the interview, I got a call, and they said they wanted to hire me. Finally, I'm getting a job in my field. So from there, they bring you in for about 7 weeks, and they teach you about a new emerging technology that you'll be using within that Fortune 500 company. So in our case, it was robotic process automation. So we came in, we learned this stuff, and eventually they broke us out into 2 teams before we got there. And you know, let's just rewind that back a little bit. So on my team, it was 7 of us. I was the only girl, and the only black girls. Another black guy there too. But you know, this is like a whole other dynamic group of people. So once we ended up going to our Fortune 500 company, we ended up realizing that this ideation team that they put us on wasn't what we thought it was going to be. It was actually just like the junior project management role. And at the time, you know, I wanted something more technical. So I reached out to my manager and I asked them, you know, is there something else that I can do here that's, you know, more technical, so I could put my past experience to play actually in my field. And he was able to talk to the company and get me into the position that I am in now. The reason why I'm making this video is because I kind of wanted to put it in perspective for you guys, that you didn't have to be a 12-year-old nerd sitting in the house trying to make your own computer to be successful in IT. Look at somebody like me who failed classes, got fired, was driving Uber, and now making over 6 figures. And in these videos, I kind of just want to show you guys my journey and answer any questions that you may have, and show you the projects that I'm working on. And outside of just working on projects for technology, you know, I have my own stuff that I'm working on, like my own clothing line called The Plug, which you can check out at poweredbytheplug.com. If you want to see any of the other things that I have going on besides my clothing line and clothing projects, or if you want to follow more of these journeys, make sure you click that subscribe button below, and also click that thumbs up button for me. And I'ma holler at y'all in the next video. Peace. It's the coolest nerd on the planet, The Plug, the Kid Dash.